committee meeting. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
With allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Staff, can we please have a roll call to establish quorum?
At this time, I am only asking those CAC members attending in person to respond by saying here when I call your name. I want to remind you to unmute your microphones by pushing the button on the base prior to responding. Ryan Rossi,
Here.
Lily Charlotte Landstrom,
Here.
Aquanette Tyson Thomas,
Here.
Kate Layden,
Here.
James Garvin,
Here.
Linda Hess,
Here.
Paula Ryan, Jim Knight, Sammy Brown, Vijay Mishra,
Here.
Francisco Gill, Myron Uman,
Here.
Arlene Kennedy, Brian Rawson,
Here.
Greg Fagan,
Here.
James McCormick, Gwendolyn Lowry, Albert Richwagon,
Here.
Win Dang.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Staff, are there any modifications to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair.
Are there any changes to the minutes?
No, Mr. Chair.
If not, can I have a motion to adopt the minutes as presented?
Move.
Myron, second. Albert, second by Albert. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Unanimous. Instructions on how to provide public comment are included in the agenda. Staff, have any general comments been received?
Yes, Jeremy Mullins.
Test. There we go. Good afternoon. Jeremy Mullings. I am with South Florida Community Services, which is a program of the Florida Department of Transportation. Thanks for allowing me to speak today. I just wanted to come by and announce and invite all of you to an event that is being hosted by the Florida DOT, the central office of Florida DOT from Tallahassee. It's an annual event they host in partnership with the Center for Urban Transportation Research from USF. It's normally held at different locations throughout the state annually. This year, we're fortunate enough to have it in our neck of the woods. It's going to be down the street in Fort Lauderdale, May 20th through 22nd at the Riverside Hotel in Las Olas. Really nice event, really nice hotel. And it's basically promoting the concept of transportation demand management, which basically, depending on the source you go to, you may see different definitions of it, but the fundamental theme is strategies to get people out of single occupant vehicles. And we're going to have a number of really interesting and entertaining speakers. Brian from the TPA is going to be one of them. I do believe that MPOs are an underutilized resource in terms of applying TDM. A lot of folks, I would encourage them to partner more with your MPOs, in your case, a TPA, and take advantage of those resources as well as just the breadth of knowledge that they have. So again, we're promoting this event. I'm going to ask you all to pick a flyer up on your way out. There's a big stack of them there. Hope to see you all there. And I just got an email. Our URL has been approved, floridacommutersummit.org, if anyone wants to check it out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ruth, are there any other public comments?
Not at this time.
All right. Comments, as a reminder, for action items on the agenda, if there are conflicts of interest forms available if needed. At this time, I want to invite CAC members to comment on items that are not on the agenda. Brian?
I'm just really excited we had a public comment.
I know, first time in like
Because
3 years.
I think in several years, that's the first time I've at least experienced that. So thank you for coming and promoting that.
Ruth, can we also note that Paula Ryan joined?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the membership? When?
Yeah, I would like to give Albert Richwigan a major shout out for a very large contribution to Florida Bicycle Month last month. Albert participated in 3 events out of the numerous 20 events that we have in Palm Beach County with the city of West Palm Beach. He did a safety check for over 12 people in the first, I'd say hour and a half that we had the event. Albert also co-hosted a ride with us in the city of Boca. And just last week, to close out the event, he also did a safety check with the city of Boca at the Boca Yamato Tri-Rail Station. So I just want to say that, you know, the community really appreciate you, Albert. Thank you for all your help.
Thank you, Albert. Myron?
Thank you. Speaking of bicycles, there was an item, I'm all in favor of bicycles. I rode a bicycle, commuted to work on a bicycle in Washington, DC, which I think it was a terribly scary experience, but I did it nonetheless because I was very young. I just wanted to note that a major university has banned electric bicycles on campus because of the conflict between electric bicycles and pedestrians. And the conflict between electric bicycles and pedestrians, I believe, is a serious issue. Electric bikes go too fast, and when they're on sidewalks or on mixed use pathways, there can be problems. I think I mentioned last month, that a friend of mine was killed while jogging on a mixed-use pathway when hit from behind by a bicyclist. So I'm very concerned about the challenge of mixed use with electrified vehicles and pedestrians and ordinary bicycles. And I might tell you that I walked the boardwalk in Atlantic City in the summertime, and you can no longer walk the boardwalk safely because of electric bicycles.
Thank you, Myron. Any other comments from the? No. Ruth, can we please note too that Jim Knight has arrived? Thank you. Real quickly, I just want to clarify for everybody here, since we have more people, if there is a chance that you cannot make a meeting, please send an email to Andrew and let them know that you're not gonna be able to make it. Just so we can know if we have quorum or not and adjust agenda if necessary. So I really would appreciate that. Also, Andrew, can you please explain the change in virtual options, please, to everybody?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. So our recent governing board meeting, we changed our operating procedures and now require in-person attendance for all of our committee meetings. The board was already operating under that themselves, but it's for all committee meetings as well. So the 3 that we host. We originally went to virtual attendance during COVID pandemic, and we allowed for virtual meetings. But now that we're, at the tail end of that, we went back to requiring in-person attendance.
Thank you for the clarity, Andrew. Can you do me a favor and please email the CAC, especially for those members that aren't here, so we all have that clearly communicated to us?
Yep.
Thank you, Andrew. I greatly appreciate it. Andrew, I would also like to invite you to provide the liaisons report.
Sure. Thank you. So we're going to share it on the screen, and there's a printout in front of you, and this is available online later on after the meeting. Just a few updates, as we already talked about for Florida Bicycle Month that just passed. We had a record number of proclamations from our agencies throughout the county. So we had 28 proclamations total from jurisdictions and other community agencies, which was great to see. Next is Distracted Driving Awareness Month. So April from the National Safety Council wanted to share that message of distracted driving awareness and ensuring that when you're behind the wheel, your only job is to drive. Next is an interesting one. One of the major funding parts of the most recent infrastructure law that passed a few years ago involved Vision Zero and safety. And with that was a Safe Streets and Roads for All grant that many municipalities within our county have gone after and received rewards for the planning of that. So there is a roundtable tomorrow after our Vision Zero action or Vision Zero Advisory Committee to discuss how they're going to collaborate together. And it's also for other agencies looking to seek awards themselves. Get on the Bus Challenge is happening now. Our director, Valerie Nielsen, is part of this challenge. It's going from March to May. There's more information at the Palm Tran website /rider-challenge. And for communities, businesses, and universities out there who would like to seek a bicycle-friendly designation, they can go to bikeleague.org/BFA. The TPA itself is a Silver Star bicycle-friendly business. We pursued that a few years ago. It goes through, a checklist and figuring out how you can promote bicycling at work or for any of your staff. And then other updates we have are all related to our LRTP and our regional transportation plan. There's surveys out there still. They'll be closing up relatively soon, but if you haven't taken that yet, we'd like you to take it. And the rest are just additional grants that we always have on our liaison report. And then if you haven't signed up for the newsletter yet, that's a good way to stay engaged about upcoming projects and other initiatives that we have going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. So next we're gonna go to action items. Number 2A. Invite Andrew to Deputy Director of Programs to present on this item.
Okay. Thank you again. So I'll be doing 2 of the 3 presentations today. It's my presentation, and we have airports here to give a presentation. So this is another amendment to our Transportation Improvement Program. And so that's our 5-year document for the program of federal and state funds towards transportation projects. With this one is a request for 3 projects. And so for this request, there's actually one product that's being has a cost increase. And then the other 2 are newer products or new products. So that's what triggers the amendment. So you're only voting on the 3 products listed in this amendment. It's not on the tip as a whole. So no other product is impacted. The first one is I-95 at Boynton Beach Boulevard. This is an interchange project on I-95 at Boynton Beach. And this project is increasing in scope by an additional $6.9 million. And with that additional scope is additional bridge reinforcement. There's wrong way detection on off ramps. And then there's rectangular rapid flashing beacons. So those are those PED signals on the on ramps to allow peds to cross, pedestrians. And there's also additional resurfacing work and the traffic control involved in the resurfacing work. So in total, it's around $7 million, $6.9 million. And this brings the project cost in the tip part of it from around $55.7 million to $62.7 million. The next one is a request from FDOT on the FEC. It's crossing rehabilitation that FEC reached out to FDOT stating they needed, and this is at Lake Ave in Lake Worth Beach. It's for $157,000, so some minimal work there for crossing rehab in fiscal year 24. And then the last request from FDOT is a new project, and this is at North Lake Boulevard, and that's Old Dixie Highway and 10th Street as well around that area. And this is also on the FEC. This is for design funds of $105,000 in fiscal year 2024. And how this project really originated was that FDOT has various safety funds, federal safety funds that they have towards different initiatives. This one, they're looking to put in some signal preemption technology to prevent vehicles from stopping on or near the tracks. And so what that's going to do is add signals a little bit further down from the approach to the tracks. And then so if there's queuing that's occurring closer to the rail line, it's going to have a preemption on that signal to allow that to flush out before any other additional cars can come into that. So this is more of a, we have a basic concept from FDOT already. It's still going to be refined as design is funded. But this is for design in fiscal year 2024. That's all I have for you. It's those three projects.
Thank you, Andrew. Staff, are there any public comments on these items?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right. Do any committee members have any comments? Wynn?
Thank you, Andrew, for the presentation. I guess the first project, an RFB at an interchange, that's a really unique use of RFP
Okay.
at an interchange. That's very unique. I'm very curious to see the details of that, or what triggers that, the countermeasure to simply suggest an RFB.
Okay. Well, I could follow up with the designer and see
Yeah,
what
I'm just very curious because I've never seen that application before. But I'm just very curious.
So this would be for the on-ramps.
Yeah, I'm making eye contact with Linda. I'm like, have you seen that before? Can we get some clarifications on?
Yeah, I've seen it for the right turn lanes, except if there's bike or crosswalks, if they're free flow or channelized. So
Right.
we'll use an RRFB that's PET activated.
Yeah,
Case.
Brian Richard, Deputy Director of Multimodal. These are actually deployed now currently on Glades Road as well, the new diverting diamond interchange. So if you want to see a live application, I believe in those circumstances, there's high speeds on one of the applications. It's a slip ramp, and on the other, there was a slight visibility issue that we had recommended advanced warning in addition to the RRFB. But just to give you a heads up that those are live in Palm Beach County now.
okay, awesome. The other question I have is in North Lake Boulevard. Would this design allow for this particular, I guess, crossing to receive quiet zones in the future?
That's a good question. So for those unfamiliar, the northern part of the FEC in our county has a lot of improvements going on so that the cities can go after quiet zone designation. This is a separate project from the work that's going to be done there already with the installation of more additional gates, quad gates at that location. However, that is a good question that was posed at the TAC meeting, and we're going to get back to FDOT and see if that would assist with bringing the safety scoring of that interchange or intersection up. And so that would help with quiet zone designation or not.
Yeah, I think that would really help Lake Park for them to receive that designation. The other thing that that came to my personal attention is that one of the requirement for safety measure is when you have quad gates and the gates arm come down, that if they are more than 2 feet apart, then you're not within the compliance of what is considered safety. And the maintaining agency along these corridors are the FEC, to my understanding. And those gate arms get hit quite frequently just because they're designed to be tipped over. But when they get installed, I'm curious to know if it's the FDOT, who's ensuring that they get installed per designed.
And put back correctly when they are hit. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's something I'd have to get back to you on. The FEC.
I do want to add, and maybe this is a little bit of an educational piece for everybody in the room. So who here is familiar with how a vehicle is typically detected when you approach a signal? I'll just throw it out there as a question. Anybody? Going once, going twice? Lily? Right. And so this project, it has to deal with how close you have from the FEC kind of located at a main line with two signalized intersections on either side of it. There's a lot of interaction going on between the railroad and then two signals. So what this project is looking at doing is providing more or less a detection of when vehicles are getting close to actually stopping on the railroad track. And we had a pretty severe, I would say tragic accident or crash that occurred in West Palm Beach where a vehicle did get stuck on Fern Street, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Sure. So what this will do is prevent vehicles from queuing back into the railroad. So there's a very short distance where you're queuing. when I can show you the plans if you're really interested, but more or less it's going to allow for the signals to better detect when queuing is starting to get close to the railroad and interact with signals. So that's why the cost is so low that it doesn't include gate arms. We are working right now on North Lake Boulevard. It is a very complicated intersection. There's too many signs that are out there. FRA has pointed that out to the agency stakeholders. They won't be able to do a quiet zone with the amount of sign pollution that's currently there based on the complexity of the road. So there are additional issues that will need to be resolved before that can move forward. But this is to at least help with some of that queuing into the railroad. And there will be other intersections that will move forward as well, countywide.
The county is pursuing some as well.
Yes.
Thank you. Meyer?
On the same project, just out of curiosity, it's a new project. You're asking for approval for FY 24 money for design, but there's no indication of anything beyond design in that 5-year period?
Correct. As of right now, I think because a lot of these funding pots, this is sort of when the funds they see are available, they're starting to try to, schedule those phases as they occur, as they have funding. But your question, Myron, I feel like you were going to ask me, so I had to go back and ask, but I have not gotten the final cost estimate that I want to put in the long range column of this tip. Because obviously there is a construction cost that is associated with that, and there is a long range estimate. So once I get that, I will be adding it to the this part of the long range costs in the tip document.
Okay, and so we might expect in the 25 to 29 tip, it might we might see more activity for this.
Correct. You'll either see it in the upcoming tip, in that first reading of it, or sometimes what occurs is some of these projects sort of get funded as funding becomes available, and maybe it's not one that gets in the tip right now, but you might see it as an amendment in the future.
Thank you.
We've had in the past where design got funded, we go to the next tip and it wasn't there again, but now they're ready to put construction in. And so it might happen that way where you see this product in about a year from now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Meyer. Jim?
Yes, Chair. First of all, I want to apologize for being late. Didn't do that on purpose. And I was just curious, I actually attended the City Commission meeting last night in Boynton about the Town Square project. And I'd asked the question there as well. What's the timing of them actually getting going with the construction of redoing Boynton Beach Boulevard? Do we have that yet?
I can look it up right now. if you like.
I had heard that the contract was let, but I hadn't seen it start yet. I was
Let's see,
curious.
it might be in your agenda right now, actually, so. 1 second. If not, I can get you something by the end of the.
Not a problem. I can get it later.
Thank you, Jim. While Andrew's pulling it up, any other comments? All right. Yeah, I just have to say the North Lake Boulevard, that interchange in particular, I traverse that at least once, a couple times a week. That's a very potentially dangerous intersection. To see that some of that's being addressed is great. So thank you. Any other comments? No,
I do too, and I avoid it as much as possible.
it's a horrible intersection.
And Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yeah.
June 25th. Sorry, June 2025. So next year, yes, June 2025. And then also, it was mentioned before about a certain design, the rectangular rapid flashing beacon. Those are the ones where if you're at a crosswalk and you're pushing the button, it's the one where it has the alternating lights right below the pedestrian crossing.
All right. Hearing no further comments, can I have a motion for approval? Paul, a second,
Second.
second by Win. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. So we're now moving on to informational items. I invite Andrew, Deputy Director of Programs, to present on the item for Palm Beach International Airport. So
We have Gary Sypek here with the airport, and he's going to give an overview for you all.
Great. Gary, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gary Sypek, and I'm the Senior Deputy Director of Airports for the Palm Beach County Department of Airports. Thank you for having me today. What I'd like to do is just go over who we are, who the Department of Airports is, what we do, what we're made up of, our airport community at Palm Beach International and our GA airports, and then talk to you about a couple of the larger projects that we have going on in the next, say, 1 to 5 years. I've been with the Department of Airports for almost 20 years, so I've seen a lot of changes. A lot of our senior staff has changed over the years. A lot of institutional knowledge walked out the door probably within the last 5 years. We do have a new director, Laura Beebe, who's taken over. She took over back in 2018 when our past director, Bruce Pelly, after spending more than 30 years at the airport, decided to retire. Laura's got some great vision, some great visions for the airport. She took on the helm of the airport during a very rocky time when we hit COVID back in 2019, 2020. Been through some rough, rocky times, budget-wise, and just with some of our staff and projects. So we see the end of the light at the end of the tunnel now, and we're back on track to where we were pre-COVID. So for those, got ahead of myself. For those of you that don't know, we own and operate, the county owns and operates 4 airports: Palm Beach International Airport, which is our commercial service and supports general aviation as well as 3 general aviation facilities: North Palm Beach County General Aviation Airport up in the north part of the county, Palm Beach County Park Airport, also referred to as Lantana, down in Lake Worth, and Palm Beach County Glades Airport, also known as Pahokee Airport on the edge of Lake Okeechobee. Each one of those airports serves a specific need. As you can see on this slide, North Palm Beach County General Aviation Airport and Palm Beach County Park Airport are both relievers for Palm Beach International. Their main role is to take away some of the smaller traffic, some of the slower, smaller traffic that could be operating at Palm Beach, but is better served at the smaller GA airports. Same thing with Palm Beach County Glades Airport in Pahokee. That's really our kind of sport recreational airport. That's where we try and have all of our gliders and skydive operations, that sort of things. Those operations that we don't want at Palm Beach or in these more congested airports that we have at both North Palm Beach County and Lantana Airport, where we don't want those types of activities. We try and get them to move out to the Pahokee Airport, and we've been successful in doing that. Palm Beach County Airport system by the numbers. Our catchment area, which is where we pull all of our traffic or where most of our passengers come from, you can see on the map on the screen, starts in the northern part of Broward County and goes up all the way through Indian River County. That's our catchment area is what we refer to it as. The total population in that area right now is just over 2 million people, 2.2 million, expected to go to 2.4 million people in FY30. You can see the total earnings in that catchment area right now is $74.3 billion in earnings, expected to go over 90 billion in 2030. The per capita personal income in that same catchment area is just over $81,000 a year right now, expected to go to almost $91,000 a year. Every couple of years, FDOT prepares an economic impact study for all of the airports in the state of Florida. The most recent one was just updated back in 2022. And on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see that our economic output or our impact to the local community is $4.6 billion and roughly 32,000 jobs created because the airport is here. The Palm Beach International Airport is here. You can see on the bottom of the screen too, we have similar numbers for our GA airports, not as great as, of course, as Palm Beach International, but you'll still see that North County Airport generates $77.3 million. Lantana is $144 million. And even Pahokee, the small airport on the edge of Lake Okeechobee, is $5.7 million. And you can see there's a lot of jobs that are still created because those airports are open for business in those areas. So Palm Beach County Department of Airports, we are responsible for the operation, management, and maintenance of those 4 airports. Everything that we do is established, all of our policy is established by the Board of County Commissioners. Right now, our personnel complement, the number of positions that we have, county positions that we have that support these airports is 168. And that's made up of finance and administration, marketing and communications, including air service development, airport planning and development, real estate and concessions, and our operations and maintenance. Operations and maintenance probably makes up about 80% of the staff of that 168 person staff that we have within the Department of Airports. Now, keep in mind, there's over 4,000 employees at Palm Beach International right now, made up of airlines and other support entities that I'll get into in a moment as well. As I said, we're a community. We're a city of ourselves. We have airlines, we have concessionaires, the restaurants, the food and beverage, the retail shops that we have, rental car agencies, advertising, our fixed base operators on the south side. We have Atlantic Aviation, Signature, and Jet Aviation. Those are what are called fixed base operators, and they're the ones that handle all of the private aircraft at Palm Beach International. Some of our partner agencies, we have our own fire station on airport. We have the sheriff's office that offers our security or provides our security at the airport. Transportation Security Administration, who I'm sure you're all familiar with if you've traveled into and out of an airport through the checkpoints at Palm Beach International. Federal Aviation Administration staffs our air traffic control tower. We have Customs and Border Protection on site, both on the GA side, the general aviation side on the south side, as well as in the terminal area for commercial service carriers as well. And we also deal with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI as well. So Palm Beach International, this is, like I said, our commercial service airport. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. We currently have 14 airlines serving 44 nonstop destinations. We just eclipsed, or we're right around the 7.9 million passenger mark at Palm Beach International. That's the highest number we've ever had, and we continue to grow month over month. We anticipate hitting the 8 million annual passenger mark probably in the next month or so. Right now, we're at over 173,000 annual aircraft operations, and an operation is either a takeoff or a landing at the airport. So that's on the increase as well. We also serve nearly 30,000 tons of cargo annually through FedEx and UPS up in the northeast corner of the airport. And you can see some of the awards we've won in the last year: 4th Best Airport for US Condé Nast 2023 Reader's Choice Awards, 8th Best Domestic Airport in Travel and Leisure Magazine, and 4th Best Medium-Sized Airport in the 2023 J.D. Power North America Airport Survey. This is just a quick snapshot of our February 2024 traffic report. You can see our 7.9 or nearly 7.9 total passengers, million passengers for the 12 months that ended February 2024. That's up 14.3% from the 12 months ending 2023. For a general comparison, I know this is a little tough to see, but you can see that in the chart on the left-hand side, you'll see February 2020. That was one of the highest passenger counts that we had moving towards the COVID pandemic. We had 722,000, almost 723,000 total passengers in the month of February 2020. You'll see the big dip that it took in February of 2021. We were back below 300,000, so less than half of what we were in 2020. And if I had another presentation that I gave a couple of weeks ago that I had a number in there that showed, I think during COVID, I believe it was either April or May of 2020, we had like 20,000 passengers that went through in the total month in a 30-day period. So we were considerably down, nearly shut down for a while without the help of the federal government and some of the grants that the FAA and the federal government provided to us, as well as a lot of the airports throughout the U.S. would have been in dire straits. So the Department of Airports, how are we funded? We operate as an enterprise fund. There are no ad valorem taxes that we use to fund anything that we do at the airport. All of our revenues consist of airline and non-airline revenues. And in terms of non-airline revenues, we're talking about public parking, concessions, commercial leases that we have. We also have several non-aeronautical uses on our property too. The Drive Shack facility, the hotel that's next to Drive Shack, the Toyota dealership down on Australian south of us. There's a large warehouse, commercial industrial development that's to the west of the airport. That is all our property that they pay leases to the airport. And it equates to almost, I believe, between $15 and $20 million a year in leases that we get. And because of those leases, that was another reason why we were successful in maintaining our composure and our financial stability during COVID because we had those other inputs. We did not just rely on passengers being in our terminal during COVID. One of the other things to note that airport revenues may only be used for the operation, maintenance, and improvement of our county airport system. We can't take our funds and go and give it to Palm Tran or give it to water utilities or anything like that. It has to stay in-house with us and actually go towards our projects and our operations and maintenance of our facilities. And the county is considered the airport sponsor, and by accepting federal grant dollars, we basically make binding commitments with the federal government that we will protect the public's interest in aviation every day that we operate as an airport. So as a sponsor, we basically have grant assurances that when we accept those dollars, that we have to open up our facilities to anyone and everyone that can operate at the airport. We can't discriminate against anybody. We've had issues down, and some of you may be aware with the issues that we've had down at Lantana Airport with the jet restriction that had been in place since the 1970s. That was challenged over the last 5 years. And just last year, the FAA came back with their final determination that we had to allow jets to operate at the airfield at Lantana Airport. Not a fun process to go through, but it was something that we went through with them, and they came back and made that determination because we cannot discriminate. We have to be open to anyone that can operate at that airfield. This is just a graph to show you some of the sources of our airport funding for some of our projects and our operations and maintenance. You can see some of the largest chunks or pieces of this pie are parking, car rental, other concessions, and passenger facility charges. During COVID, those were nearly non-existent. So without having that other stream of income from some of that non-aeronautical lease agreements that we have in place, all of that went away for a period of probably about 1.5 years that we were down significantly, that we didn't have access to those funds. So that was a big hit. Without having, you can see up in the top corner there, the CARES Act, the Airport Coronavirus Response, and the ARPA funds, those really helped us during that time, and we're still drawing down on some of that money today. So the airlines play a huge role in operations at Palm Beach International Airport. They assume a significant responsibility for the costs. Each year, we establish our airline rates and charges for the upcoming fiscal year. And at the end of the year, we sit down with the airlines, and if the actual costs are greater than what were estimated, the signatory airlines are obligated to pay that differential. In the recent past, over the last couple of years, we've actually paid back because by assuming that risk, the signatory airlines, which are Delta, JetBlue, Southwest, the major air carriers, they're entitled to revenue sharing, which is about 35% of the net remaining revenues that we have. I think this year, I believe the airlines will be entitled for the total over all of them, almost $3 million in revenue sharing from the airport. Our cost per enplanement, which is basically the primary metric used by the airlines to determine their costs of operating at Palm Beach, we've historically been one of the lowest airports in the country. Right now, our cost per enplanement is just under $4. I believe Fort Lauderdale is around $9, and I believe Miami is in the $15 to $16 range. So we have historically, and it's been something that we've tried to maintain over time, is to keep that cost for the airlines down as much as we can. Now I just want to go through a couple of projects that we have ongoing at the airport. A lot of the projects that we have right now are more rehab and rehabilitation and reconstruction projects. Not a lot of, there is one project that I will get to at the end of this, the Concourse B expansion. However, a lot of it's not the glamorous projects. We're replacing elevators, we're replacing escalators. We have a leaky roof. If you've been in there, you might have noticed some buckets around from time to time in the terminal. Short-term and long-term garage repairs. Those have been ongoing for several months now. If you've traveled out of Palm Beach International over Christmas, you may have been inconvenienced a little with not finding parking in our short-term and long-term garages. Hopefully that will be wrapped up in the next couple of months. Also have a large-scale airfield improvement project ongoing right now. If you've been on Belvedere Road, you'll see piles of dirt and work along the taxiway along our crosswind runway 1432 in that area. And our biggest project that we have ongoing right now is the Concourse B expansion. Right now, we're in phase one of Concourse B expansion, which is modifying and improving our restrooms at the end of Concourse B. Right now, if you've traveled out of Concourse B recently, you'll notice the restrooms are closed there. So we joke with people, we wanted to have a little campaign that said, go before you go, so that you don't come to the bathroom or come to the airport thinking you're going to use the bathroom at that end of the thing. We'd still have restrooms available, but they're a little more inconvenient at the beginning of the concourse. This phase also includes the expansion of a bump out between gates 5 and 7 on Concourse B for the enhancement and introduction of a new sit-down restaurant on Concourse B. The full expansion that we're working on right now, we're working on some additional funding strategies to finish the funding or to acquire the funding for the project. This project originally started out at about 42 to 45 million dollars. It's ballooned to over 90 million dollars now. It's been something that everyone in the county has seen with construction costs. No change in scope, just basically the cost of doing business now after COVID. So basically the full expansion of Concourse B, we're going to provide an overall refresh of the entire concourse, expanded seating, expanded restrooms, as I mentioned, elevated ceiling heights. If you see the top picture there, you all know that the end of Concourse B right now, it's very narrow, very low ceilings. I think the ceilings in this building and in this room are higher than what we have in there now. This is going to open up that area, make it more attractive, easier for circulation, additional restaurant spaces, an integrated nursing suite, and the addition of 2 additional loading bridges. This is an artist rendering of what we hope it's going to look like when we open it. You can see the terrazzo floors that we have, a new bar area, new flight information desks. And in the back there, you can see, hopefully you can see, there is a couple of new restaurant spaces that will be in there, more of like a market area, food market, food hall area versus just some standalone restaurants that we have. This is an exterior view up in the right-hand corner of what it's going to look like. You can see the kind of bumped out roof, the ceiling area that we have in there to let in more natural light into the area. Some future projects that we have, we do have another rehabilitation of our primary runway, 10 left, 28 right, which will be under design in the next couple of months. We are providing some access road improvements to our air cargo facility, actually exiting from our air cargo facility. I mentioned to you before, elevator replacements, air handler replacements, electrical infrastructure improvements, phase 2. This is a project to basically replace all of the existing electrical infrastructure that was from the original construction of the airport back in 1988. We are in the first phase of that project right now. Overall, I think the total project cost for all of the improvements is well over $30 million for that. I did mention to you that we do have a fire station on site at the airport. This up in the right-hand corner is whoops, jumped again. Up in the right-hand corner is a rendering of what the new station will look like. Right now, it's in the middle of the airfield between Concourse B and Concourse C. We will be moving it adjacent to the air traffic control tower on the north side of the airfield. One of the other big projects that we have on the horizon that we're just starting is a connector, a secure connector between Concourse B and Concourse C. If you've been on level 2, where there's an atrium where the putting green is and the restaurants that are on the non-secure side, we are going to build a glass wall. You can see that here. This is all open right now, but we'll build a glass wall. So all of that area will be post-security so that people can travel between the 2 concourses freely. We'll also be developing a new common use lounge in that area, as well as some other amenities so that people can, if they have time between flights or if they get there early enough, they can go there and hang out, relax with their family and friends there. There'll be a bar in that area as well, just somewhere else so that people can go and relax and not be crammed in at a gate for when they're waiting for hours before their flight leaves. Another project that we have coming up is all of our concessions agreements end at the end of this year. So we are going out on the street with 2 new opportunities for concessions for food and beverage and retail. Our director, this is a project that's near and dear to her heart. She wants to have it more sophisticated, but not exclusive. She wants more things in there to show the customer service aspect and elevate the customer service aspect in Palm Beach International. Have it more consistent with what Palm Beach County is, not just Palm Beach per se, but focus more on local, regional, and national concepts. We won't have restaurants or retail or anything in there that you won't see somewhere else throughout the country. Right now, we have a couple of options on Concourse B, especially Stinger Rays. Has anyone ever heard of a Stinger Rays outside of Palm Beach International? Probably not. So we're going to try and get away from that, but it's really going to give us an opportunity to have a variety of choices for food and beverage. I know, especially on Concourse B right now, we just, within the last month, when we started the restroom project, we closed Burger King. You will most likely never see a Burger King at Palm Beach International again. We want to have, like I said, more of the local flavor and some more of the enhance the customer experience and what our passengers expect. And then some of the ongoing and future projects that we have at our GA airports, just a couple of the things, some surface treatments on the runways at Lantana, West Apron rehab at Lantana, ramp expansion at the North County Airport, a new fuel farm at Pahokee Airport, as well as 3 or 4 planning projects that we have ongoing, the safety assessment at Lantana due to the jet introduction of jets at Lantana, a master plan update at Lantana Airport, as well as the conclusion of our Part 150 noise compatibility study, which should be wrapping up here in the next couple of months. And we also have a project, and that's what's shown on the right-hand side here. We are finishing up the environmental assessment for a runway expansion, runway 1432 expansion at the North County Airport, going from 4,300 feet in length to 6,000 feet. And with that, I think that was the last slide I had, and I would open it up to anybody's questions if you have any.
Jim?
First off, I would like to say thank you very much for the presentation. Very, very informative. And being a native here at Palm Beach County and having a lot of friends and clients coming and going on a regular basis, they all say any way to go through Palm Beach International Airport over Fort Lauderdale or Miami is a big smile.
Yeah.
I don't think there's too many people watching this
Yeah.
meeting, so I think we're safe there. We do? Okay, we got one person. Okay. If it would be possible, it was very informative, and I didn't know if it was part of the backup, but the presentation would be very helpful. If you could share that,
Sure.
that would be fantastic. And maybe get it to Andrew or somebody and they'll share it, send it around. Thank you very much for a very informative presentation.
Thank you.
Sammy?
Hi, Gary. Thank you for your presentation. I just had a quick question as it relates to the city of Atlantis and the issues they were experiencing with the airport down there. I think, is it the Lantana Airport or
It
is that a
is. It
private
is.
airport? Okay.
Yep.
And have those issues been resolved or what's?
No,
going on?
we're still in the process, and that was one of the reasons why we're doing that. The safety assessment that I mentioned, that was based on some input that we received through that, through the process where the jets were.
Okay,
were,
and has there
um,
been any other communication most recently from the FHA or whatever?
No.
the-
No,
Okay.
we hope to wrap up that safety assessment in, I think we're going to have our final public meeting on the outcome of that in the May timeframe.
In May? Okay.
Correct.
And I don't know if you can say or if not, but the RFP that you mentioned, when is that supposed to be, kind of what time frame or
Hopefully within the next 60 days.
within the next 60 days?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're talking about the concessions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the leases, do you know what the typical time frame for that is? Is it, 30 years, 50 years?
For like the non-aeronautical,
Jack and the
50
Toyota?
years.
50 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Myron?
Thank you. That was really a very interesting presentation. I just have one question. If I remember correctly, and my memory is not good, the extension of the runway at North County was discussed maybe 5, 6 years ago. It was very controversial at the time. And there were some concerns about the effect of that on the flight paths and things. Can you comment on that at all?
Yeah, the environmental assessment has been going on for 5 years now. So I think we had gone back in maybe the 2015, 2016 timeframe back to the city of Palm Beach Gardens and asked for permission from them to lengthen that runway. So the interlocal agreement that we have, that the county has with the city of Palm Beach Gardens was modified to allow for that. We don't anticipate changes to any of the flight patterns out there. We're not really anticipating a huge increase in operations. Some of the aircraft that may be able to operate at Palm Beach may end up going out there. But we're not estimating we're not going to see 50,000 additional operations out there or anything like that.
But this does allow larger jets to
Somewhat larger,
Yeah.
maybe faster aircraft is what it is. It's going from a B2 to a C2, which the 2 is the wingspan. So the wingspan is staying the same. But in FAA design standards, it's allowing for aircraft with faster approach speeds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Paula?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Very informative. I have a couple of questions, mainly because I've been tracking the airport. I live under the flight pattern. It's a great airport, easy to get to. There are a couple of things that came up. One recently where there was discussion about moving the rental car, one of the rental car companies off of the north side of Belvedere over onto the airport space. And my question was, from 9/11, a lot of the concessions were moved away from the airport itself. I guess it must be the buildings. Are we looking at, doing any expansion connected to the rental cars on that site, and will it comply with? the
Yeah,
changes?
we are starting to talk about, and I know one of our county commissioners had mentioned several weeks ago in one of the board meetings about a consolidated rental car facility. So we are starting to look at some of those options for the future, where right now they're spread throughout the campus, some on our campus, some on their own property on the north side of Belvedere. What that consolidated rental car facility would do would consolidate all of them into one facility on our property, most likely in the future.
And it would still be away from the
Correct.
terminals and all,
Correct.
okay.
Yep.
And the second thing is, it probably was about 15 years ago, there was a discussion to take the traffic control facility here and move it to Miami and do a regional, which of course, just from your numbers alone, the expansion of, travel is just
Yeah.
so great. Is that a dead issue?
That is a dead issue, and it
Good.
wasn't the air traffic control tower, it was the TRACON facility, their approach control facility. The FAA actually built the entire tower with the thought that the TRACON was moving down south to Miami to consolidate it. Then they came back in, ripped up the parking lot, ripped up the facilities and built the TRACON. So the TRACON is part of the facility there right now. So I do not see that moving to Miami.
Great,
So.
thanks.
Any other comments? Real quick, Gary, I have a question. So the environmental study has been completed at North County Airport. What is the timeline and potentially between that runway being extended and any other modifications to that airport site to accommodate
Sure.
what may be coming?
Sure. We, like I said, we hope to wrap up the environmental assessment. Hope to have that public hearing and public meeting and the public workshop sometime in the May timeframe. Once we get that and the FAA issues their final decision on the environmental assessment, that should hopefully happen in the summer. From there, we'll start design. We'll have to go out for selection of a consultant to do the design work for the runway. That should take a year. I would not anticipate that we would have a complete runway until probably 27, 28.
And are there any other things happening on that property aside from the runway extension?
There will be another RFP that comes out probably sometime late this year, early next year for the fixed base operator up there at North County Airport. We are actually, because of the runway and the expansion of the runway and the interest that we've had in the fixed base operator up there, I believe we're going to go out for 2 FBOs up there so that we'll have some competition with the operators up there.
Thank you very much, Gary. Seeing no other further questions. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Moving on to the next item is, were there any public comments on the airport presentation? Sorry.
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, great. We're going to hop into the draft fiscal year unified Planning Work Program. Invite Andrew Euler, Deputy Director of Programs, to present on this item.
All right. Thank you. This is our last presentation today, and this is just another informational item. You're going to see this twice. It's going to be this month as the first draft, and we'll receive comments and feedback from you all, the public, and then our partners, FHWA, FDOT, and FTA. And we'll wrap this up coming up in the next month, and you'll see the final draft for next month. But this is our draft Unified Planning Work Program. And so this is what's on the UPWP. It's going to cover the next 2 fiscal years. So it's a 2-year document, and that's 25 and 2026. And so we're a metropolitan planning organization. That's a federally mandated organization. There's 450 of us throughout the nation, and all of us have these documents on the screen here. We have that Transportation Improvement Program, the Long Range Transportation Plan, a public participation plan about how to carry out the public participation for the transportation planning process, and we have a Unified Planning Work Program, which is what we're talking about right now. That Unified Planning Work Program, again, it's a 2-year operational plan and a budget. So it's going to cover the next 2 years of the state fiscal years, July 1st of this year to June 30th of 2026. And really what this is it lays out how we're going to do the planning activities as the TPA, and then how do we get reimbursed with federal funds and some state funds for those activities. So in that, it's required to identify tasks associated with what the deliverables are going to be, who's going to accomplish it, whether that's staff or consultants, when it's going to occur, so those completion dates, and then how much is it going to cost and with what funding source. And so the plan is broken up into multiple tasks. There's 9 of them total. And the first 7 of those, tasks 1 through 7, really is the bulk of it. That's where most of the federal funds and state funds are shown and what we'll be reimbursing for. Then in task 8, there's transfers to other agencies. So in that task, you would see particular transfers if we do anything with FDOT, or more likely with South Florida partners, Broward and Miami-Dade, when we work towards the Regional Transportation Plan. That would be in that task. And then the last task, task 9, are agency expenditures with local funds. So those will be ones that we actually aren't reimbursing for. So those are ones that we wanted to keep separate in this document so it's not confusing. So those are ones that are entirely using local funds that do not seek federal or state reimbursement. And then in the document, I'm just going to go briefly over the funding sources. It's 2 years of funding, and in fiscal year 2025, it's around 4.8 million. And then the same in fiscal year 2026, 4.78 million. And the bulk of these funds come from the federal government. They are Federal Highway Administration funds and then Federal Transit Administration funds to carry out these transportation planning activities. Those are both formula-based, so they're based on our population within our urbanized area. So receiving most of them from those. We also have additional formula funds that we receive as a large urbanized area called Surface Transportation Block Grant Funds, STBG. So those are those urban area formula funds that we also use towards projects. We receive, I think, around 20 million a year of those, maybe a little more than that, but we have a portion of that that also is put into our Unified Planning Work Program to carry out a lot of more tasks related to product development, but on the planning side. Then after those are all of our federal funds and really what the major reimbursements are. Then we have a state funding category for the Commission for Transportation Disadvantage. And so this is our CTD program. Our staff helps administer the local coordinating board for that. And so that $108,000 over the 2 years goes towards reimbursing those tasks that our staff administers. And then lastly is local funds. Again, this is a separate part of the document, its own task within the document, around $300,000 total. And this is a per capita expense we receive from local governments who serve on our board. And this goes towards a lot of activities that aren't federally reimbursable. These can go towards maximizing the agency when it comes to staff or education or workshops and trainings for committee and board members and then also our staff. And it can also go towards additional things that might not be reimbursed, such as some of our marketing materials. So any branding that is not associated with a specific document is something that cannot be reimbursed at a federal level. And then one final item I wanted to mention, just because I think it's sort of an interesting approach here in Florida, is that all of our federal funds that come to us, they all require a match, right? So many of those matches are an 80-20% split. So 80% federal, 20% local match. What's unique with Florida is the state as a whole has an agreement with the federal government when it comes to what that match looks like. So it's all matched at the state level using toll revenue credits. So basically, we spend enough money on the federal aid system with toll revenue credits to make that up that entire match of federal funds at the state level. And so we're not required to show that match at a local level. This is that exact same information, just broken down in a chart for fiscal year 25 and 26. Again, the bulk of the program is federal funds, a little bit to do with state funds, which are CTD, and then that local funding amount that goes in that last task. And then within each category, each task, you'll find the breakdowns of specific expenditures for these categories. And the major ones include personnel. So that's salary and benefits towards staff. That is 15 positions and then potentially an intern as well. So that is the largest expense. Next is consultants. We have consultants that we have general planning consultants. So they have teams of consultants under them that we manage with them. And with that, they do a lot of mobility studies, document updates. So that's the second largest expense. And then other ones related to the rest of what we do day to day is direct expenses, travel and training, supplies and equipment. So think about maintaining our facilities, maintaining our equipment for computers in this room, and all those day-to-day operations that come with an office. So that's all the ones that are federal reimbursable at the top, 4.6 million in 25 and the same for 26. And then a breakdown for that last task 9, of where the local funds are spent. And that goes towards maximize the agency effectiveness, public engagement, staff performance, and then balances to reserves. And that's $150,000 a year. Our timeline to adoption. So this is really an overview for you all. It is a large document, and next time around, we will have a summary of those activities and what those deliverables are. So you can review just that if you don't have a lot of time. But I can answer any questions if you want to reach out to me. It's going to go to the board this month as well. It's already been sent to our federal and state partners. So we're awaiting feedback from them. We'll make sure that all gets incorporated into the final draft, which will be coming to you all next month. Final board adopts that, and then it gets approved by FHWA and FTA, and then they authorize those funds come June 30th. And then we'll be operating under that budget come July 1st. Public input's open now on our website, and it's going to be open all the way till board adoption next month. And that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, for the presentation. Any questions or comments? Wow, nice. All right. Okay. All right, Myron.
All right, I'll make a comment. I noticed in the budget table that personnel costs went up from year to year, and materials and supplies went down significantly year to year. Was that can you explain that? I mean, was there a big purchase required for one year and not the other, or are we adding staff and have to cut out no more cookies in the
I think we'll have those. That's a very good catch. Yes, Myron. So the way the staff one works, it's the exact same amount of personnel. Those are just a factor year to year about potential inflation growth. When it comes to the personnel
Salary
increase.
increases, is that what
salary
you're
increases, yep.
anticipating salary increases?
Yeah, the way we have it set up is based on the CPI and then potentially, if budget allows, other salary increase. Now, when it comes to the why that went up and the other one for equipment went down, you are correct. Yes, we actually are reaching the end of useful life for some of our laptops and equipment. So we're expecting a bigger purchase come the next fiscal year. Also, you might notice in the room, we have 2 screens that aren't working well. So Joe, just one right now. So that's good. So we do have to, like, for example, that's one of the ones that we're gonna have to figure out what to do about getting a new projector in there or some other way of fixing that. So we do have some larger expenses coming up in the first part of the fiscal year.
I knew there was an answer, but Wen said I had to ask something, so.
Thank you, Myron. Thank you, Andrew. Any other comments from no? Paula?
I think Gwen said that we had someone for a public comment on the airport issue. Did you say we did have? Oh, okay. I just thought maybe we forgot.
I said we had one general public comment early on and we were very excited about it.
Thrilled. All right. Thank you, Andrew, very much. Appreciate it. Are there any public comments on this item, Ruth?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right. Sorry, a little out of order. All right. Items 4A through 4D are informational only. There will be no staff presentations unless requested by a committee member. Any requests? VJ, do you have a question? Okay. All right. Are there any public comments on these administrative items?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right. Our next CAC meeting is scheduled for May 1st, 2024. At this time, our committee meeting is adjourned.